There we go. Okay, so just to start with, just quick warm-up exercise. So stretch up, high, so your legs are wide apart. Bring your arms down, breathe in. So deep squat, come up. And from here, so again, legs wide apart, just pulling down as you kneel on one side, pulling down. So really feel those biceps sort of pulling or resisting. Okay, reaching up, arms out. All you're going to do is palms down, is just press down as if you're pushing against water. So you should feel a little resistance. Turn the palms up, do the same, up, going upwards. Turn the palms to the back, push back. So you should feel your shoulder blades engaging. And then just little circles. So tight, make sure your fingers feel like they're stretching out to touch as far away as possible. Other way. Feet in a bit closer. So this is a bit like doing a crunch standing up. So think about using your core, pulling down as you bring your knee up. So opposite knee and elbow. So really think about it, pulling in at the torso. 2 more. 1. Legs apart, just gentle twisting. Gentle turn of the hips. Other way. And just quickly, so this is going to be like a really fast, tight run. So on the balls of the feet, just trying to go as fast as you can, pumping the arms. That'll just get everything moving. So in your own time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and breathe. Hopefully you're feeling a little warmer after that. Yeah. Good. All right, so grabbing your tanshinai. Do a couple of quick warm-up door strikes. So check your feet, make sure right foot's pointing directly forward, left foot is out so they're not crossed over, 65 degrees in, so your hips are kind of off on a 45-degree angle from the front. Elbow into the hip, and just basic door strikes, make sure it's coming in each time, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shi, hachi. A little bit faster for another 10. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shi, hachi. Just roll the wrist. Okay, so Irimi seitei. As a basic technique, all it's really talking about is moving into close distance and then controlling the other person's weapon, at which point you can do your tsuki strikes. So the first one that we'll look at is the basic, or the simplest of the three. So you're starting from Kamae. You basically move in, and depending on the situation, it's either going to be a harai or it's going to be a lock. For this instance, we're just going to act as if we're locking rather than a harai. So lock it down, tsuba to tsuba. When you've got that controlled, left foot and left hand come forward. It should be a low position, so not up. Low, as if you've grabbed the elbow and dropped it down. And then from there, rotate on the back foot. Make sure you're on the balls of the right foot, so the right heel can come up as you rotate the hip. Okay. So really strong. Use that hip coming back to create nice, strong zanshin. Okay? So basic technique from Kamae. If you want to practice harai, that's fine. So harai, or just block with tsuba, left around, low pull as if you're on the elbow and bringing it down, so keep the knees bent so you drop the weight, then ski. And then as you step back, you're covering that kote, because that's the closest target point. It's also the one holding the weapon. So, in your own time, I want you to practice that particular Irimi seitei technique. You can change it up from just a block to a harai if you want. And again, capture yourself from a few angles if you can. Anyone got any questions at this point? No? Okay. So let's aim for 6 goes on this seitei technique, and then just come back to the video. Hajime. Good. Sorry, noisy chairs. Anyone got any questions about that particular technique, the footwork, the hip movement, any of it?
So when we do the carry, so from here,
Okay.
Let me just show you. Okay.
Sure.
So do we do small going forward of the knee, or do we step? What's the best way to cover before going into?
Okay. It'll actually depend on the situation. So in the kata, what will actually be happening for number 6 is we're both starting in chudan. So I'm just going to change my view again. Is you're starting from both in chudan, and what you're coming in to do is cross it over. So, so it's pretty much a case of you've come in and you've met. What you're doing is you're just trying to hold over the top. So just locking it down. So the idea is when you come in, and I normally move in on this because again I have short legs. Sorry, just trying to find good lighting position. Is over the top, so they're pushing down, and so that their arm is in effect going to begin with. So you're trying to push their arm back, so it's no longer a threat, and downwards. So it's no good kind of going up high. You kind of need to push down, have this on top of their tsuba, so it's acting as a blocker. So for me, it's normally just a small ayumiashi, so little step in and over. And once you've got that locked, it's much easier just to keep pushing that down as you shift your body weight around.
Okay. So actually, so we're not stopping from the omote side, but we're going to the ura side then.
So kind of, yeah. So if you're looking at my arm rotation here, what's happening is it's coming up and over. So it's kind of rotating over the top. So if you're doing it as a harai version, it'd be a case of harai, but that means that you're not quite on top. So you almost want to rotate it over to lock it. I mean, you can do it from there, but it's a really weak position. They can pull back from it. You do want to kind of hold over as much as possible. So I'm just going to bring that light a little bit forward. That make a bit more sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at it in terms of kata number 6, since we're just talking about it. So you've got both of you working from chudan to begin with. You're coming in each near san, and you're taking the initiative by, in this one, you actually take the initiative by trying to push them to the right. So when you're coming into just a little bit of a gap out, you come in and you come on your left of their tanshine or kadachi. You're going to push across to your right. The effect of that is they step out and off to your left. So if I push there, I've created this opening, they'll step out here. They're going to attempt to make a do strike, at which point it makes sense to come over and block.
Okay.
Go and do the Irimi seitei. So you're creating opportunities. Again, the more senior a person is, the smaller the opportunity you create. But both in Shudan, and again, if you want to grab your kadachi, you can do that too. This is more just to see it in action. So ich, ni, san, you force them off to your right. So you're trying to control center. But by doing that, you've created the opportunity. They step back and out. They come for your door. You lock, you grab, and you stab, basically. So this is really a technique that only works in a few circumstances. They kind of need to be coming and making an attack at you. And you're using the opportunity to then just force the situation. So, that makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. All right, just going to grab a drink. If you need to, grab one yourself. My mouth's just really dry. Okay. So this second Irimi seitei technique, which comes into play for number 7, is pretty much the same idea again. You're just controlling. But in this case, what's happening is they come in and their attack is quite low. And so what you've done is you've just blocked. So again, that you stay on top with your tsuba. So in this instance, it's the idea of they've come in and they're coming sort of a low attack here or low attack here. And you rotate and block over the top. So you're catching the tsuba here. So if you're starting in Kamae, you need to rotate your wrist and arm around and block it off to your right. Yeah. So again, you've got that opening here. From there, what you need to think about is your left hand coming underneath as you come around, and this coming up at the same time. So from here, comes in underneath their elbow. This is locking down their arm. You've got your elbow underneath their underarm. And if you really want to make it painful, you push that up into the armpit, and they will not be able to dislodge you. So from here, from here, up and underneath, keeping the tanken over the top of the weapon. So their weapon is basically strapped along here as if it's your naginata. So you've locked it in here behind your arm and your weapon. And again, rotation with that hip. So Shudan, you walk in, you lock to your right, step in underneath with the left, lock them against your body, and same rotation. That makes sense? Any questions?
I'm just trying to figure out which way my hand is rotating for that. I think it's anti-clockwise, is that right?
It is. So if you think about, this is 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So you're going around to 11, 10, 9, down to 6. Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard to see, and then I was thinking, oh, I'm supposed to go this way. No, that doesn't
That's
look right.
a really awkward position to do it from. Look, if you're desperate, you probably could, but it's going to be weak because your wrist will then be out this way. Whereas this way, you're still pushing out. It's a lot harder for them to push back at you.
Yeah, you've got the curve of the arm to make it strong. Yep.
So for this exercise, just starting in Chuda, and then rotate and block. Come in underneath and ski. Make sure your knees are soft to allow for that rotation and that absorption as well. It'll also help that when you grab them to drop your body weight and break their balance, which is the other part of Irimi seitei. So just 6 in your own time, Irimi seitei. Off you go. So it's so again, it's obviously hard to imagine without the other body there, but the idea is that this hand is placed over their elbow, so it's locking their elbow against your body, again to sort of weaken their attack or their ability to move. So you really want to hold it into your body, between your hand and your body, so that they can't get out of it. The looser that is, the more chance you're not going to be able to complete the Irimi seitei. Bearing in mind that in Shiai, if you miss on your Irimi seitei, you have to let them go. You do not get to stab them again to try and make your point. So make it worth it. And the only way to do that is to make sure you've got control, and then you can take your sweet time about stabbing them and make sure you get your point. So when it comes to kata number 7, and we'll do this, the kata in a bit, it's literally a case you both start in gedan, and you push them to your left this time. They step out and come to try here, and that's where you get that rotation from. And then it's just the same sequence again. So it requires a very specific set of opportunities. Any questions on that particular Irimi seitei? No? All good? Okay. So the final Irimi seitei, this is the upward block and thrust. So again, very specific circumstances. For this exercise, we're just going to start from chudan. The idea is yes, as someone comes in to go to jodan for men, you're not going to let them finish that downward cut. As they come up here, you're going to be blocking here on the tsuba or on the wrist, if it's on shio, then grabbing the elbow, locking it backwards, breaking their balance, and then stabbing here. So it's much easier to stop them when their momentum's already going backwards. If you miss your opportunity and they've started coming forwards, you're fighting all that gravity, all that momentum. So you really need to think that they're going up, and that's when you need to go as well. So going from chudan, literally push off strongly from your back left foot, rotate your arm, so it goes from chudan, rotate up, and this tsuba, again, you want to be blocking either on their wrist or on their tsuba. So if you're doing it for kata, it's tsuba to tsuba. When you're doing for shiai, take that wrist out. Because that's going to be your best bet. So from chudan, they're going up, and you go up too. Once that's in position, left hand is going to grab that elbow and push it back. So push as you pull your body back, skip. And then you cover kote as you come back. So this one is very much about timing. It's difficult to do because not too many people try men attacks. But when they do, if you have the timing right, you can disable them really well. So, chudan, step into the attack, grab the elbow, skip. And again, fast rotation relies on loose feet, on the balls of the feet, loose knees. Any questions? No? Okay, so 6 of that Irimi seitei in your own time.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the Uchidachi is coming for men, right?
Yes.
So we have to go in for the block.
Yes.
So we are. So do we? So okay. So going in, we move both feet, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then here, so we have to control and push them back. So how much do we pull back? So do we go into regular distance, or do we do a little more here?
Okay. I think I get what you're asking. In this case, you don't want to move back if you can help it. If you think of it more like fumikayashi, where your hips pretty much stay in the same location, it's just your feet swap around. Because if you move back, then they can use gravity and momentum to just push you down.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll try and demonstrate. So from here, I push up, and I know the lighting's bad for this, but if you can see my hips, what I'm doing here, and just I'm just going to line this up with the roof parallel there, so the roof bar, if you can see. What I'm trying to do is keep my hips and my feet in the same distance as they were when I blocked, because that way I don't lose that pressure. And so even when I'm doing that changeover, so I'm pushing up here, keep the pressure up, keep the pressure up.
Okay.
Because the idea is you should never let this hand out to play until you, well, unless this is completely under control. If you release this before you grab, you're likely to get your hand smashed to bits. So here, that's controlled. Keep pushing up at that position because it's really uncomfortable for them. Grab it while that's still up there, pull that down. But to do that, you can't afford to move backwards. You can if it ends up that you end up stepping a little bit in, you'll be breaking their balance again, which isn't a bad thing, except in Kata when they might fall over. So here, block, maintain that distance. Make sense?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
It obviously makes far more sense when you've got a partner, because you'll see them wanting to fall backwards, and you'll feel where the pressure is. But if you try and imagine what it's like to receive it, so if you're here, you've gone to Jodan, and someone's just gone, push, oh, great, I've smashed myself in the face, and then they've grabbed your elbow and gone, huh.
Yes.
All of a sudden your balance is out, and it's really hard to fight back against that one if it's done well. Okay. Any more questions on that one at all? No? Okay. So let's quickly run through Kata 6, 7, and 8, which is basically all those 3 Irimi seitei techniques. So we'll do this as the shikata. So grab your kodachi. Lighting's still okay, I think. I have all the LED work lights in the world right now, so I apologize. I might be a little bit blind trying to stare at you. So the main thing to remember with Kata 6, 7, and 8 is the shikata. Think right, left, down. And that'll actually help you remember what it is you need to do to create the right situations. So for Kata number 6, you're both starting in chudan. You both come in, you're half a step apart. You will initiate, and you'll initiate by pushing to the right as you step in. So you come on the left side of their kodachi, you push it out to your right. They will step out to your left. They'll come in for your door, at which point you rotate and lock. So you're tuba over, grab their elbow, rotate around, ski. Cover their kodachi as you cautiously return to chudan, gedan, and retreat. So as long as you remember which direction you have to go through first, everything else starts making sense because all the pictures are there. Chudan, you push to the right, your opening's there, they come in at that opening, you block it. There's their tuba, there's their arm, grab that elbow, ski. Cover, and come back. So try and see that partner because it makes much more sense to what they're doing. Any questions before we do that 4 times? No? Okay. All right. So in your own time, 4 times 4 as the shikata. Push to the right. They come and at your mote, block to the left. Grab that elbow. Ski. cover kote. Chudan, gedan, 5 steps. And back together. Chudan. Starting in chudan, ich, ni, san. Push to the right, then come to the left, lock, hold it down and over. Good. Any problems or issues with number 6 there?
I was just having a few problems with the transition from here. I was okay getting to there. I was wondering, what the hell am I doing with my hand? But I figured it just comes back, probably to the hip.
So the idea is once you've blocked there, you need to keep it locked. So you need to think about still controlling that position as you rotate the feet. So this should stay here, stay here, stay here, and then grab and pull it back. The faster you get at it, the less you really see the parts of it. But here, so block. But you can see that my hand is, my right hand, my weapon hand, isn't retreating until I've got that elbow. Right. So it has to stay in position, has to control it all up until the point where you get their arm, and then you can pull it back. So if this is fumikaeshi, this comes forward, so left hip, left hand comes forward. As you come to, as you're controlling it, as you're almost there, left foot comes forward, right foot and right foot, and will come back.
Right.
So you always have to think about maintaining that control. If you lose that control at any point, they're going to get out of your hold and they'll be able to hit you again. Yep. So you need to make sure that you do not release their weapon until you've got a firm hold on their weapon arm. Yep. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool. All right, so number 7, both starting in geidan in this particular one. So you come from chudan, you both drop down to geidan together. Ich, ni, san, go. So it's just 3 steps in each knee, san. Again, you've got that little gap, that half step, and again, you're going to initiate the movement. But this time, what you're going to be doing is you're trying to push to the left. So you'll come on the, you can't come on the right, your right of their weapon, push it to your left. They'll step out to avoid. They're going to come out to this side, which is where it's open, come for here, and that's when you rotate the wrist down to catch it. Once that's caught, then you can come up and underneath. And again, you can see I'm still trying to keep that in position while this comes up. Now I've got their arm locked against me. My tanshin, my kodachi can sweep under and around because their arm will be in their way and their weapon will be in their way. And now you've got both their arm and their weapon locked against your body before you do your seitei, the ski strike. So I'm going to drop some of the lights on this because I think you're getting some really weird lighting off me now. All right, that should be a bit better. So geidan, you push to your left, you block to your right, you come underneath, and as you've controlled the elbow, bring the kodachi over their arm and weapon, ski. Cover their kote as you step back, chudan, geidan, retreat. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. So 4 times each in your own pace. if you have any questions about it, keep them in mind and we'll talk about them afterwards. Kind of like we always do. Off you go. Left, lock to your right. Good. One of the things to bear in mind when you're doing this technique, or this Irimi seitei, is if you're the person receiving, your arm is, so your right arm is out, it's locked underneath. What they've done is they've got their elbow under here, so they're pulling it up. And if you imagine someone pushing up underneath your underarm, that can be quite painful when it's held against the body. It's going to push you off balance, especially if they're pulling you down at the same time. It's going to throw you into all kinds of weird positions. So if you're the shikata, please feel free to put a little bit of pressure into the armpit with your elbow, but also bear in mind that you're trying to be nice to your kata partner. So if you do that, it at least reminds them of what they should be feeling when you're doing it in shio. But don't, force the issue too much, especially if you're taller than they are, because you're literally going to be throwing them right off and possibly hurting them. But again, with the technique, remember that with the lock, flat is fine, but the more controlling shio is that. So push it up into there. Any questions on Kata 7 at all?
Oh, that's good.
No? Okay. All right, so let me just check the time. Oh, we're all right. So let's look at Kata number 8, which is fairly simple. Both starting in Chudan, they're going to go down to Gedan. And so your standard response to any Gedan movement is normally Irimi. Coming in, Ich, Ni, San, half a step away. You are going to initiate by trying to force down over their Gedan. And that's what Chudan is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a lock over Gedan. So you've got the Gedan, you step in, put pressure on them by forcing their weapon down. They step back, they start to go up for men. You keep pushing forward and lock. Grab the elbow and retreat, covering their kote as you retreat. So it's a bit of a higher cover as you retreat. So again, you have to imagine your partner's there. They're coming in at Gedan. You push them. So you push over their Gedan. So they start to go up. And that's the moment you need to be catching it as they go up. So timing on this one is really difficult. Spacing and distancing is really difficult. But fortunately, your imaginary partner right now is going to do all the right things. So any questions before we do that 4 times? No? All right. I'll walk through the first one with you and then you're on your own. So getting Chudan, they go into Gedan. Chudan Irimi. Ich, Ni, San. Force them down. They pull back. push them up as they do men. Grab, skip, cover that kote as you let go and retreat. Get them. Shoot up. 3 more times at your own pace. Okay, how are we going?
Yeah, good. It's quite a big sequence of different moves, that one, you know.
Yeah. I think the important thing as the shikata is, remember, yours is all forward movement. You have to keep moving forward. So you come in, you push down, you push up. You have to be ready to keep forcing that attack. Otherwise, you're going to miss your opportunity, and the weight of their arm is going to be coming down at you. So really just, you just kind of have to know what the kata is supposed to be. This is you pushing them. This is you pushing them. And then you've got them in position to do what you want.
Yep.
Okay, grab a quick drink. We'll switch over to Jukendo because it is a little bit late, but not later than, or too late than normal. I'm just going to adjust the lights again. And see if I can convince the dog not to sit right in the middle of the floor.
That's more the
Harry? No? Because this is currently my floor space. Very well trained dog.
The pets are making their appearance.
Yes. So Harry likes to sit in the middle of things because he wants to get involved, which is very nice, but it just means I have to be very careful of my footwork.
Yes, I know the feeling. I know the
Yes. I did see your cat jumping around there before.
feeling. And my dog is also going around me.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a whole type of Jukendo, isn't it? Whole new type of Budo.
Yesterday I was teaching an naginata class, and
Yeah.
so I have to fold my carpet, and it was inside the fold, and I didn't see him, and yeah.
Oh, not a happy pet.
No, not good, not good situation.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, now I'm just starting to think when we go back to training for face-to-face, we should just have obstacles everywhere. It's good, it's good for our spatial awareness. All right. So, if you have your Jukendo, first thing I just want to look at is making sure Kamae and Naore are really clean. So that's one thing we tend to get sloppy about, because everything's easy to get sloppy about, especially when we're on our own. So making sure anytime you're carrying the mokuju, this one's always held straight up. You never hold it at an angle like you do a naginata. It's always straight up by your side, placed down firmly beside you. When you go into Kamae, it should be two really clean motions. The first one is your hand and your left foot, so your left hand, left foot, both coming strongly forward. And that movement should be placing your kensen at the right position. So you need to be focusing on your partner and going, okay, from here, I need my kensen to now be steady. It's locked because both my hands are together. And that kensen should now be at my heart height, but the angle, so this angle, should be towards my partner's eye line. If they're a lot taller than you or a lot shorter, it's going to be a bit off. But one thing you really want to make sure is that's clean and it's not a great deal of wobble. So if I'm doing this facing you, it should be snap, heart height, nice and strong. And the best way to do that is just to make sure that left hand locks on tightly to nooch with both hands so it doesn't wobble. So from Naore, straight, step into it. And once that's solid, then you can bring that right hand back to the hip. And this just helps reduce all that sort of little movements with your kensen. And then coming back to Naore from here, right hand moves first, and again, lock them to nooch together, and then step it forward and place it both hands, and then release. So it should always be sharp. This is a military weapon, it's a military training. So the movement should be precise, no movement wasted, as it were. So just coming from Kamae, I'm going to go Naore, ich, ni. And then going into Naore, ich, ni. Yeah, good. I remember for both Jukendo and Tanken, you're always moving forward. So if you're not careful, you'll just run into each other. So we're just going to practice Kamae now for a minute or so. So, ich, ni. And really think about that, just not keeping it steady. Naore, ich, ni. Kamae, ich, ni. Naore, ich, ni. And if you need to reset so you have room. So twice more. Kamae, ich, ni. Naore, ich, ni. Kamae, ich, ni. Naore, ich, ni. So when you are doing Kamae or Naore to your partner, make sure you're trying to make them sharp, really clean. Make sure you don't have that wobble. So that first initial movement into Kamae, both hands forward, that should be setting you up to the correct position for your chudan. So that you shouldn't have to readjust the top of your mokuju at that point. So really, really strong, really powerful. Yeah. Any questions about that at all? Apart from things like angle, so making sure you've got 15 degrees there.
Which 15 degrees?
So please go ahead.
Where was the 15 degrees? Where was that?
So when you come from here, so when you come forward for Kamae, that's just flat. When you bring it down, when you're in Kamae, you actually rotate the mokuju slightly. So if you can see here, this is flat on.
Yep.
And that's rotating. So that wrist rotates into your hip. And so when you come to do an attack, it rotates back and out again to the 0 position. So 15 degrees on the hip, 0 when you strike.
Yeah, yeah. And I think originally mine was always too much.
It's really easy to do it too big. It's quite comfortable to do it too big, but you don't want it too widely angled. Otherwise, you have to do a really big rotation each time, and you're going to get a sore wrist. So just a little angle. Sorry,
Eduardo, I jumped in.
Oh, no problem. No problem. It's okay. So my question was, yeah, I know this is a good question, but I see sometimes I see people doing so on the back end. Mm-hmm. So this is the trigger, right? So or part of the thing for the trigger. So it's sometimes I see it like this. Sometimes I do it like this most of the time.
You just raise your hands a little bit because the camera's not showing them. Okay, thank you. That's great.
Okay, so normally I do it like this, so trigger, yep. Right? But sometimes I see people doing like this, so I don't know.
I mean, technically, as long as you're not going to drop your mokuju, we're not going to be too fussed. You don't want to have all your fingers in front of the tokibu because there's no hold there. Most people, and I think this is how most people teach it, is as if it is a trigger. So your index finger in front and your 3 fingers behind the little tokibu angle. So, yeah. And that's where I find it quite comfortable as well. Everything sits nicely. So I think you'll generally find this is probably more acceptable. This, you don't normally, I mean, some people might use 2 fingers on a trigger, but it's quite awkward and you're more likely to slip out.
Yes.
Here it's
yes.
a lot more stable. So
Yes,
I would
that's
advise
yeah.
1 finger in the front.
Yeah, I also feel that, but that's why I was asking, because sometimes I see this and I'm like, this feels better. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, look, some people it will feel more comfortable, but what you also need to bear in mind is what's more stable. Are they more likely to slip out if they have 2 fingers there? And I know I would, because the tokabu is too big for me to easily put 2 fingers in front, 2 fingers behind, and have it not slip. But again, if they're thinking about when you pull a trigger, not that any of us hopefully really have to do that very often, normally going to use 1 finger rather than get 2 into the trigger itself.
Yes.
So
yes.
1 in front.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions about Kamae and Naore? Will make sense? Okay, good. Just check the time because I'm good at running away with things. I'll give you a choice because we're only about 10 minutes till the end. We have a choice of looking at just the basic feint and strike and Kata 7 and 8, unless you have other suggestions. What is your preference out of those?
Which feint and strike were you?
It's okay.
So that's basically the technique where you go feint, strike. So you're trying to provoke a reaction, usually to open an opportunity. So push. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So you can move with the feint, but it's mostly to test your opponent's reactions, whether they're going to, withdraw, whether they're going to push forward, whether they're going to open seme. So push and then create that opportunity.
Right.
It's also just good to do it several times. So 2, 1, 2, 3. So that you're used to the idea of putting pressure on. It doesn't have to be that first strike that makes your point. It might take several testing of your opponent's defenses before you'll be able to make that opportunity. So since we've already started it, let's keep going with that one. So just starting from tuna and making sure this palm is open. So even when you've got your kote on, it should be held in your knuckles on the bottom. This part of the palm should always be visible until you go to nuch. So open, loose, relaxed. That helps with uruharai as well. So from here, just a few, so keeping your feet in the same position as they are, so don't move them. Ich, ni, san, and then bring it back. And again, it doesn't have to be a strong chin up from the front. So ich, ni, san. And coming back strong zanchuation. Ich, ni, san. Yeah. So this time we're just going to do 1 feint and then 1 follow-up strike. So the follow-up strike will actually have that fumi-komi, if you can manage it. So feint, strike. And back. Feint, strike. Ich, ni. Ich, ni. Ich, ni. 2 more. Ich, ni. Ich, ni. Good. Good. So this actually helps you also get your aim, so you can see with the feint if you're roughly in the right area. It's not going to be exact because you're not trying to properly strike, but it will help. So now we're going to try it with 2 feints and then a strike. So it'll be a case of ich, ni, follow it up. Ich, ni. So you can think of it as testing on a mote side, testing on ura side, strike. Just so that you can understand what you might be trying to achieve. So 2 strikes, all feints. Ich, ni, strike. Ich, ni, tsuki. 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 2 more. Ich, ni, tsuki. Ich, ni, tsuki. Good. Arms and body should be pretty warm from that one, which is good.
Actually get rid of this top.
Yeah. Other feints starting to feel a little bit easier as a motion.
If for me, I'm feeling a bit tight,
Yeah.
and probably when we get back into one-on-one,
Yeah, it'll be
I'll
different.
start to see it become more natural.
That's okay. What we can do to try and loosen it up is we'll take it a bit slower. And I'm just going to let the dog inside because he's whining. I won't be saying. He is a very vocal greyhound. So this time, what we'll do, again, make sure that front hand is relaxed. Roll the shoulders, feint, feint, strike. Come back. Roll, feint, feint, strike. So I want you to think about when you do that rotation, drop the shoulders and focus on keeping them there. Don't worry so much about the strike at that point. Rotation, relax. 1, 2. Rotation, breathe in. If you have room, you can do a little step with each feint. So roll. 1, 2. Roll, breathe in. 1, 2. Good. Good. All right. So that one's fairly easy to practice on your own. And you can just modify it as you need to, depending on your room or what you want to practice. As I said, you can go, okay, I'm not going to do any steps, each knee, and then strike, or 1, 2, 3. Or you can do another variant, which is 1, strike, step strike, actual strike. So vary it up and just see what you can do with it. So it'll warm you up if nothing else. It'll make the motions much more natural. But as I said, think of it as a means of testing their defenses, opening them up a little bit before you make your actual attack. And then the next obvious one is a case of, feint, strike, 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 strike. Because you missed this the first few times because they got good defenses, keep pushing them. So that's the next step in the variant, which is feint, strike, keep striking. All make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions? No? Okay, so we're going to have a few minutes left on the session, so I'm not going to worry about Kata. What I will do is a quick warm down for everyone. If you need to sign off early, go ahead, that's fine, good to see you. But we'll just stretch out those muscles. So just starting with each foot, just pressing it into the ground or rolling it up, whatever it takes to make the feet, the ankles, the toes loosen up a little bit. So you might just want to raise up on your toes each time, pressing them into the floor. You might want to rotate them each way. You might want to turn them over so you've got you're pushing down on the front of your foot. Just loosen them up a bit. Bring your feet together. I might just drop my camera down a little bit to make this a bit easier. All right. So with the knees just gently bending forward and coming up, only as deep as is comfortable and slowly, so you're not putting too much stress on them. And you should feel it in the back of your calves as well. All right. Feet wide. So knees are going out over the toes. Gently just bending down, so squatting down. Make sure you're not sitting forward, so it should be more like that. So the back side's just coming straight down. What I want you to do is just try and push gently at the knees. We'll open out the hip flexor, but again, only as far as is comfortable for you. And then just gently move from side to side. Hold it in the center. And all I want you to do is just gently pulse up and down. So you're not going very far, doesn't have to be fast. And you should be feeling it in the tops of the legs and underneath. And they should probably start to be burning a little bit around about now. And just hold it in the center, breathe in. Breathe out. Rotate your knees and feet forward. Legs are straight. And all we're going to do is put our hands locked behind our back, pull them up, and we're going to just bend forward. Think about putting the weight onto your heels, so you should be able to wiggle your toes. Unlace your hands, bring them to the front. Hold them over your head as if you're just cradling your elbows. And you're just going to let your body hang down. So head, neck, everything relaxed. Again, you can rock back onto your heels, feel a bit more stretch. Just reaching to one leg as much as you can, stretching that out. And with the other leg, just bend it gently, so you're stretching it, and then straighten. Bend and straighten. Bend, straighten one more, bend, straighten. Bring your hands in front of you to the center. If you can reach the ground, just place them on there. If not, just let them hang. And just gently try and push your body a little bit forward each time. So you can feel the stretch up the hamstrings and the back of the leg. And then go over to the other side, to the other leg. So just stretching towards your other side. And with the other leg, just gentle bend and stretch. Bend, straight, bend, straight, one more, bend, straight. Relax your knees, bend them slightly and just come up. Take your hands, rotate them and flex them out and pull them over your head. So think about pulling up, stretching up, come up on your toes if you want to. Drop it down. And from here, so take your left leg and put it behind your right foot so they're crossed over. And then lean over to your right side. So your whole left side is getting a stretch. Release your hands and then just drop forward and stretch forward to your feet. And then roll it up. So swap it over so you'll have your right foot behind your left leg. Hands up. Stretch over to your left. So your right side's getting a long stretch. Release your hands and drop forward to your front, to your feet. And roll it up. So last couple of stretches, so wide knees, hands up, breathe in. Breathe out as you squat down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in and hold it up there. Bring the feet together. And this one's just to relax everything, releasing it up. So from here, you're going to just breathe in, and as you breathe out, you're going to let everything just fall down and like this. In, and bring it back up with the momentum. Stretch up. Remember to breathe out, it's really good for you. Last one. And just roll their shoulders. Shake the hands. And I think that'll about do it for the night. Or morning, whichever time zone you're in. So how are you all feeling?
Good, good.
Nice.
Not bad, not bad.
Nothing sore, nothing hurting?
Oh, just a little sore, well, regular, muscle sore, yeah.
All right.
Nothing that wasn't there before.
So if you need to take another few minutes just to stretch anything that might still be a little bit tight. If you've got any questions about anything we've done tonight, let me know. I'll put up the recordings, but with my connection currently, it might not be up for the next several hours, but it will be in that same playlist link as all the others. And if anyone's got any suggestions or things they'd like to focus on Tuesday, let me know.
Yep.
But yeah. Any other feedback, send it through. So
You know what I'd like to look at?
Yeah.
Is, I know something that Simon picked up that I do a long time back when he was there. Obviously, many of us are Naginata practitioners, and we are on this side. And then sometimes I'll just get the.
Hey. Yep.
I just want to start working out maybe from next session how far across my body needs to be in Jukendo. So is it here or is it here? Because I've got to get that elbow out as well a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm finding, I think it's about here, because I need to be able to get to my own heart, and the computer's quite good for this, in effect.
As long as you don't smash the computer, yeah. So, and that's a really good point. The Kamae for both Tanken and Juken is actually the same. It's just on the opposite side to each other. The main thing is having your feet angled correctly. Once you've got the correct angle, your hips should sit naturally and comfortably between them, and that should be the correct Kamae. It will fall about 45 degrees, but it makes more sense when you've got your Kata on top of all your bogu as well. Obviously, you don't want to be flat open as you do in Kendo. You don't want to be too flat to the side, otherwise you can't get your mokuju up or your tanken out cleanly. But we'll have a look at the footwork and the angles. I'm happy to do that. That's great.
Yeah, and it's something we can then look at ourselves doing on screen, or with a mirror or something like that. Yeah.
I'll try and show you here, just briefly. So, angles are hard here. Right. Hope this doesn't fall over. So, these are my feet pointing towards you. If I bring my right foot back for mokuju, that's at 90 degrees there, okay?
Yep.
What I want is about 65. And then my hips fall naturally over. So when I bend my knees, my hips are sitting directly over the top.
Right.
So it should be comfortable. If you bring it the angle too close in, your knees will actually start coming together when you try and bend down. If you have it too far out, they'll be coming out that way. 65 degrees, they're almost going directly in front of you. There's just a little gap. So see if I can angle it here so you can see a bit better. So from here, they're not going far out. They're just comfortably coming out.
Yep.
And if that's open to 90, my knees come right out. If it's closer than 65, my knees are almost in the same direction. They're almost angling in. So try and find, so 95, rotate it just that little bit in, and then you should feel fairly comfortable with your knees coming in, just a slight angle outwards, and your hips will just sit straight over them. And that's kind of the position for your Kamae. Sorry about that, Rob.
It was a good slide, though.
I've been doing a lot of dance classes today, lots of slides. So same thing on Tanken on the other side, is you don't want your knees going right out, which will happen if they're too wide. You don't want them wanting to knock into each other, which will happen if they're too narrow. Once you've got that angle where the knees are just slightly out from each other, just a slight opening, and it's comfortable, your hips should naturally just be sitting over them. And that's pretty much where your Kamae is supposed to be, as I understand it. So
yeah.
So it just turns you slightly out. So again, if I'm here, if that's my 90 degrees and I have my hips trying to sit over them, I'm quite flat.
Yeah.
If I bring that to 65 and I sit them nicely over that, I'm a little bit open, but I can easily still use my mokuju to come up. And when I bend down, my knees are almost coming straight or in parallel. And this is quite a comfortable position. So when I bend my knees, which we should have them bent all the time, it should still be pretty comfortable to sit in.
Yeah. Okay.
So have a bit of a play.
Yeah.
And again, we can look at it again in the next session. That's not a problem. But that's the best sort of base I can give you to work with without sort of standing there and seeing your feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Any other questions? No? All right. Well,
Actually, I have a question about Kamae, but we'll talk on Tuesday.
okay, no problem. Or send it through onto the group chat as well. That's fine, and it'll give me something to think about.
Okay.
Cool. Now, it was nice to see you all.
Because she needs more things to think about.
It's good for me. All right. So those of you in Europe, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Those of us here in Melbourne, have a good night. And I will hopefully see you on Tuesday.
Thanks, Em.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
See you.
Righto.
Thanks.
Take care. Haylen, see you later.